In the heart of the endless African wilderness, power is never given freely. It is fought for, defended, and bled for every single day. For years, this vast stretch of golden savanna belonged to one undisputed master. His presence alone commanded absolute silence across the bush, and the heavy rustle of dry grass under his massive paws was a warning that sent entire herds scattering in terror. But nature has a relentless way of reminding even the most powerful creatures that no empire lasts forever. Look closely at this majestic giant. The grand stride that once projected supreme dominance has degraded into an agonizing, labored drag. His heavy head hangs low, barely able to support its own weight. The fiery gaze that once froze rivals in their tracks is now clouded with exhaustion, pain, and deep confusion. The untouchable predator of legendary tales. This is a proud ruler trapped inside a breaking body, forced into a cruel battle he was never equipped to fight. In the brutal hierarchy of the wild, a lion expects to face fierce, honorable challenges. He prepares his body to fight brutal territorial wars against nomadic males, to dodge the deadly horns of desperate buffaloes, or to survive long, agonizing months of scorching drought. These are tests of raw strength and primal instinct. But the enemy currently destroying this giant carries no weapons. It has no sharp claws, no powerful jaws, and no rival roar. Embedded deep within his thick coat, buried into the most sensitive folds of his skin, are thousands upon thousands of blood-sucking parasites. Ticks, unseen, relentless, and suffocating. They have invaded his ears, his neck, his underbelly, and the soft flesh around. His joints. Day after day, night after night, these tiny invaders drain his lifeblood, drop by precious drop. Every single bite triggers a searing, burning itch that never stops. Every step he takes pulls at his raw, inflamed skin, turning simple movement into absolute torture. A lion's roar is his crown. In his prime, his full-throated call could travel over 5 miles, vibrating through the earth and striking fear into the hearts of every living soul in the valley. It was his ultimate decree, declaring to the world that this land belonged to him alone. He lifts his heavy head toward the open sky, gathering what little air remains in his depleted lungs. He opens his jaws to throw his voice across the plains, but what comes out is not a thunderous roar. It is a feeble, hoarse rasp, a tragic echo of a power that is rapidly fading away. Sentence. Out on the distant horizons, dark shapes begin to shift. Hyenas, scavengers, and opportunistic young nomadic lions who have spent years cowering in the shadows no longer hear a conqueror. They hear an invitation. They gather along the perimeter of his territory, watching his unsteady steps with cold, calculating eyes. They can smell the iron scent of his blood and the decay of his strength. Vultures circle high above, painting dark shadows across the cracked earth, waiting patiently for the inevitable collapse. Overwhelmed by fever, blood loss, and sheer physical exhaustion, the giant finally collapses into the dust under the thin shade of a solitary thorn tree. His heavy ribs heave rhythmically as his body burns from the inside out. He twitches in agony, his tail flicking uselessly against the swarm of flies that carpet his body. He licks his forepaws, trying desperately to groom away the agonizing parasites, but his rough tongue only tears his own raw, infected flesh. How cruel the irony of the wild can be. The apex predator, capable of felling a massive zebra with a single strike of his paw, is completely powerless against enemies smaller than a raindrop. Without intervention, this pride male will not survive the week. The fever will consume him, or the hungry jaws waiting at his borders will finish what the parasites started. As the afternoon heat reaches its peak, the silence of the bush is broken by a sharp, fluttering sound in the canopy above. A small flock of birds swoops down from the acacia trees. These are oxpeckers, nature's specialized grooming squad. To most animals, they are noisy companions, but to a creature buried under a mountain of parasites, they are nothing short of a miracle. The birds land cautiously on the dry grass near the fallen lion. They hop closer, their small red beaks twitching. their sharp little eyes scanning the massive, motionless mound of fur. Ordinarily, a proud male lion would flick his ears or strike out with a heavy paw at any creature bold enough to step on him. But this lion no longer has the energy for pride. He lies still, his golden eyes half open, watching the tiny feathered visitors approach his face. Then the unbelievable happens. One brave bird flutters up and lands directly on the lion's matted mane. It steps cautiously toward his ear, tilting its head, and begins to work. With surgical precision, its sharp beak plucks a swollen tick directly from the lion's ear canal. The lion gives a subtle, deep shudder, not of anger, but of instant, overwhelming relief. Sensing that the giant apex predator poses no threat, the rest of the flock descends. Within minutes, dozens of birds are scattered across. His back, his shoulders, his face, and his belly. They work systematically, plucking away hundreds of swollen parasites one by one. Look at this extraordinary spectacle of nature. Here lies one of the most lethal killing machines on planet Earth, completely submissive, allowing tiny birds to walk across his eyelids and inside his ears. It is an ancient, unwritten pact of the wilderness, a symbiotic partnership where the desperate needs of two entirely different species collide in perfect harmony. The birds find a rich feast, and the king receives a second chance at life. Hours pass under the blazing sun. The birds continue their tireless work until the lion's worst affected zones are completely freed from the parasites that were draining his life force. For the first time in months, the burning itch stops. The maddening pressure in his ears begins to ease. The lion closes his eyes and takes his first deep, unbroken breath of clean air. The heavy fever that had clouded his mind for weeks begins to break. As the cool evening breeze rolls across the savanna, a profound transformation takes place beneath his golden coat. His body begins to rebuild. Without thousands of parasites consuming his blood, his liver and heart work to pump fresh, oxygen-rich blood back into his starving muscles. Slowly, deliberately, the lion stretches his massive front legs. His long claws extend and dig deep into the dry earth. The fire in his soul, once reduced to a tiny ember, explodes back into a roaring flame. He rises. It is not a quick movement, but a slow, majestic ascent. He shakes his heavy, magnificent mane, sending dust and dry leaves flying into the air. He stands tall, his broad chest expanding, his muscles taut and ready once more. Again, he turns his head toward the horizon where his enemies have gathered. He draws in a massive draft of air, filling his lungs to maximum capacity. A wall of sound shatters the quiet dusk. An earth-shaking, guttural roar explodes from his throat, rolling across the hills, reverberating through the trees, and shaking the very ground beneath his feet. It is a sound that makes the grass stop swaying. It causes herds of antelope miles away to freeze in pure terror. It is the undeniable voice of a resurrected king. The invaders who had drifted into his territory hear the call, but it is already too late. They turn around in confusion, expecting to see a dying, broken animal. Instead, charging out of the twilight shadows comes an unstoppable force of nature. With his eyes burning with vengeance and his full strength restored, the lion bursts into a full gallop. He closes the distance in seconds, his heavy paws pounding like drums against the dirt. The intruders panic. The cocky confidence they held just hours ago vanishes into pure terror. They break formation, turning and sprinting for their lives as the enraged monarch pursues them right to the borders of his domain. He does not just drive them away, he sends a violent, unforgettable message to every predator in the valley that his territory has only one ruler, and his reign is far from over. As the golden sun dips below the horizon, painting the African sky in deep shades of crimson and gold, the king steps up onto his favorite rocky outcrop. He stands alone at the highest point of his kingdom, his golden fur glowing in the dying light, his mane flowing majestically in the evening wind. He has survived the invisible army that tried to destroy him from within.